The oldest roller coaster in the world was built in 1904 in Lakemont Park, Pennsylvania. Engineers have spent over a century perfecting the art of the roller coaster, leading to the tallest roller coaster in the world, Kingda Ka, having an enormous height of 465 feet, or Formula Rosa being the fastest in the world, going a mind-blowing 149 miles per hour. In 2019 alone, theme parks are estimated to rake in over $22 billion, which leaves the question, what is the best roller coaster in the world? According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the Formula Rosa in Abu Dhabi is the fastest coaster on the planet, screaming along its tracks at a top speed of 149 miles per hour. It was opened on November 4th, 2010 at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, an amusement park themed entirely around the Ferrari brand. The roller coaster uses a special hydraulic launch system to reach its incredibly high speeds. It's the exact same system that is used on aircraft carriers to give fighter jets enough speed to take off while at sea. It's essentially a large piston attached to the coaster's card that fires it off at high speeds, propelling it to maximum velocity in just 5 seconds. During that acceleration, a rider will experience up to 1.7 Gs of force, followed up by a mind-bending 4.8 Gs of force at the bends. The coaster track is almost 1.5 miles in length, making it the 6th longest steel roller coaster in the world, but it clears that entire distance in only 1.5 minutes. Because of the incredible speeds the roller coaster travels, all riders are issued a pair of protective goggles, the same type that like a skydiver would have to wear. This is so no rocks, or even kinda grosser, insects find their way into the rider's eyes. At speeds that high, such an impact could cause some serious damage to your eye. Japan is well known for pushing boundaries in basically everything they do, and roller coasters are no different. Vanish is a one-of-a-kind roller coaster, and its name is incredibly accurate. This roller coaster makes its riders, you guessed it, disappear by diving straight down underwater. This steel roller coaster has long been on the list of bloggers and thrill seekers must-try attractions, all because of its unique underwater tunnel that riders will find themselves submerged in after a near vertical drop into a pool of water. It would probably be pretty dangerous to have a roller coaster actually diving down to a pool of water. So what the guys at the Yokohama amusement park did is made a hole in the middle of the pool, surrounded by water jet cannons that spray out at the ride as the car dives through it. Riders emerge from the tunnel behind the spinning coaster under cliff drop and then get treated to another straight dip. As is typical with most Japanese roller coasters, a dramatic 540-degree helix finishes the ride off in dizzying fashion. This steel coaster can be found at King's Dominion in Doswell, Virginia, and was opened up in the Safari Village section of the park in 2010. The Intimidator 305 is reported to be both the tallest and fastest roller coaster on the east coast of the United States. It stands at 305 feet tall, which is probably how it got its name. The first drop on the coaster measures up at 300 feet, and cars reach a top speed of 90 miles per hour when they rocket down. In the year it was opened, it was voted as the best new roller coaster of 2010, but that doesn't mean that there weren't any problems along the way. When it was first opened, the designer of the coaster produced an overwhelming amount of G-forces. The forces were so intense that some people reported symptoms of graying or blacking out while riding it, ranging from a loss of vision to a complete loss of consciousness depending on the severity of their symptoms. To get around this, the maximum speed of the coaster was reduced as a temporary fix with the addition of trim brakes on the first drop. In the off-season, the ride was closed and the first turn was redesigned completely, with a wider turn radius that led to less G-forces experienced by riders. This modification allowed the removal of the trim brakes on the drop, which brought the ride back up to its max speed of 90 miles an hour. According to the Cedar Point website, Millennium Force was built with a single objective in mind, to prove that bigger coasters are better coasters. In fact, when it was unveiled in 2000, it forced the creation of an entirely new roller coaster classification, the Giga Coaster. This classification was coined by the makers of Millennium Force Intamin to represent all and any coasters that exceed 300 feet in height and complete a full circuit. When it was opened, Millennium Force was propelled into the history books by briefly being the tallest and fastest roller coaster on the planet, because it was 310 feet tall and had a top speed of 93 miles per hour. The Giga Coaster covers 13 acres and runs parallel to the shoreline of Lake Erie, and then travels over to an island which is located inside the park. The ride has 2 tunnels, a total of 3 overbank turns, and 4 hills. Traveling the complete distance of the ride takes 2 minutes and 20 seconds. When it opened, the Millennium Force coaster didn't just break records for its height and speed, it broke a total of 6 world records. It was the first ever complete circuit roller coaster to top 300 feet, the tallest complete circuit coaster in the world, it had the longest drop on a complete circuit roller coaster, the steepest non-inversion bank turn on a roller coaster, and of course, it was the fastest roller coaster. It only held the records for the tallest and fastest roller coaster for 3 months before being beat out by Dragon 2000 at Nagashima Spa Land in Japan. X2 is a steel roller coaster with a pretty strange title. It's called the world's first fourth dimension roller coaster. Basically, the train cars of the coaster are totally unique. They're able to rotate 360 degrees forwards and in reverse completely independently from the main chassis of the coaster. This means you could be rocketing along at the top speed of 76 miles per hour while your seat twists and turns beneath you. The unique train designs are enough to put the X2 on this list on their own, but the ride's track itself is really cool too. It's 3,610 feet long, includes a skydive, a backflip, a twisting front, and 2 Raven turns, which is basically a half inversion followed by a drop. Elements like the backflip and the skydive are only possible due to the rotating nature of the train cars. If all of that wasn't enough, the ride was redesigned slightly in 2007 to include new special effects which range from simple sound effects to a literal flamethrower. As we mentioned earlier in this list, Steel Dragon 2000 was the first coaster to steal the world's records of tallest and fastest roller coaster away from the Millennium Force, making it the world's second giga coaster. Not only was it the new fastest and tallest roller coaster in the world, it was also the world's longest, surpassing Expoland's Daidarasaurus, a title it holds to this day. Like many roller coasters, the Steel Dragon 2000 starts with a long chain lift hill, which carries its passengers over 305 feet into the air. That's followed by an insane drop and a 252 camelback hill. After that, the train moves through a figure-8 shaped helix, a mid-course brake run, and 6 more camelback hills, as well as 2 tunnels, before finally reaching the station again. While the Steel Dragon 2000 may be the holder of a world record to this day, it was once involved in a pretty serious incident. In August 2003, an axle on one of the trains sheared off, sending a wheel flying through the air. One of the ride's passengers suffered serious back injuries as a result, and the wheel went on to hit a 28-year-old man who was swimming in a nearby water park pool. The ride was then shut down for almost 3 years before finally being reopened in 2006. If you're a fan of riding roller coasters, then Kingda Ka is probably a name that you're very familiar with. Located at the Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, this steel accelerator coaster is the current world record holder for the world's tallest roller coaster and is also currently the world's second fastest roller coaster, coming in second only after the Formula Rosa. Kingda Ka was the second ever strata coaster ever constructed. Those are roller coasters that stretch to over 400 feet tall. Much like the Formula Rosa, it uses a custom hydraulic launch mechanism, as will be seen on an aircraft carrier, to propel its trains up to 128 miles per hour in just 3.5 seconds. After the launch track, the train climbs up a giant hill reaching an insane height of 456 feet. The ride then drops down the other side, a drop that's 418 feet long. The Kingda Ka was built to be a record breaker, but over the past 14 years, Kingda Ka has seen its fair share of incidents. Rollbacks aren't common, but they can happen. This is what happens when a train doesn't quite get enough launch speed to get over the first hill, though there are magnetic brakes in place to stop the coaster from rolling all the way back into the loading bay and causing a major accident. The superstructure of the coaster has been struck by lightning, and in 2012, a boy was sent to the hospital after he was hit by a bird while going full speed on the ride. The year is 1897, and a flood of men and women are entering the untamed wilds of northwestern Canada, fueled only by the rumors of limitless gold. This is the story Canada's Wonderland amusement park presents you with when you try to find out about the Yukon Stryker. The coaster was opened in May 2019, replacing the Skyrider, and is the world's tallest, longest, and fastest dive coaster. When you leave the coaster station, the train immediately turns 180 degrees to the right to ascend a 68-foot-long lift hill. You then pause at the 90-degree vertical drop zone, with the very front of the train hanging over the drop slightly. You then drop 75 meters to the middle of another ride and down into an underwater tunnel, reaching the record-breaking 81 miles per hour. After you exit that tunnel, you break into the world's biggest Immelman loop, followed by a 0G roll and a 460-degree vertical loop, which is a first for a dive coaster. There's then a mid-course brake run before a second steep drop into an airtime hill and a counterclockwise 360-degree helix. In other words, this ride has a whole load of incredible loops and twists and the highest speeds a dive coaster has ever gone. The original Tower of Terror was opened in the Dreamworld amusement park in Queensland, Australia in 1997. Back then, this coaster was a trailblazer, the first roller coaster in the world to reach 100 miles per hour. Then, in 2010, when those numbers were no longer very impressive, it was modified and relaunched as the Tower of Terror 2. The main vehicle of the ride is known as the Escape Pod and seats 14 riders in 3 rows of 4 and 1 of 2. This pod is then accelerated up to 100 miles per hour in 7 seconds along a launch tunnel through the use of a kicker tire system. The Escape Pod then rides up along a 90-degree vertical section of track, exerting 4.5 Gs of force on its riders. While going up and back down this piece of track, which lasts around 6.5 seconds, it is said that the riders will feel almost weightless. As of its redesign, the Tower of Terror 2 has the 4th tallest lift, 5th fastest speed, and 3rd longest drop of all steel coasters in the world. The story behind Superman Escape from Krypton, which can be found at the Six Flags Magic Mountain Park in California, is surprisingly similar to the Tower of Terror. It was originally opened as Superman the Escape in 1997 and managed to get the edge on Tower as the tallest roller coaster in the world, though it matched Tower's speed of 100 miles per hour. Then, just like Tower of Terror, the ride was refurbished and rethemed in 2010. But even after the refurbishments, there aren't many differences between the two. Escape from Krypton features 2 identical parallel tracks on which the trams are accelerated by linear synchronous motors in reverse at the station. The vehicle then climbs up 415 feet along a 90-degree angle section of track on which riders experience around 6.5 seconds of weightlessness. As of 2015, the ride is the 5th fastest, 3rd tallest, and has the 3rd highest drop in the world. Make sure to check out the 10 most insane water slides in the world. I'll see you guys there.